We've now talked about 3 types of toxic patterns: escalation, invalidation, and pursue and withdraw. The final pattern is negative interpretations. This is when one spouse consistently believes that the motives of his or her partner are more negative than they really are. He or she will look at everything, even good things, through a negative filter. And these interpretations become cemented into the fabric of their relationship. Over time, the pattern demoralizes the more positive spouse. Let me share an example with you. Margot says, we should start looking into plane tickets to go visit my parents this holiday season. David is thinking about their budget problem. I was really wondering if we can afford it this year. Margot, in anger, my parents are very important to me, even if you don't like them. I'm going to go. David, I'd really like to go. I really would. I just don't see how we can afford $1,000 in plane tickets and pay for Joey's orthodontics too. Margot, you can't be honest and admit you just don't want to go, can you? You don't like my parents. David, there's nothing to admit. I enjoy visiting your parents. I'm thinking about money here. It's not about your parents. Margot, well, that's a convenient excuse. And she storms out of the room. Well, in this case, David really would like to visit Margot's parents, and yet her negative interpretation prevents her from seeing it. She believes that the budget is just an excuse, but for David, it's real. If a negative interpretation is strong enough, it's hard to challenge. Let me give you another example. Alfred says, you left the car out again. Eileen, oh, I guess I forgot to put it back when I came home. Alfred, with a bit of a sneer, I guess you did. You know how much that irritates me. Eileen, becoming exasperated, look, I forgot. Do you think I leave it out just to irritate you? Alfred, coldly, actually, that's exactly what I think. I've told you so many times that I want the car in the garage at night. Eileen, yes, you have, but I don't leave it out to tick you off. I just forget. Alfred, if you cared what I thought about things, you'd remember. Eileen, you know that I put the car in the garage 9 times out of 10. Alfred, more like half the time, and those are the times that I leave the garage door up for you. Eileen, have it your way. Doesn't matter what reality is. You'll see it your way anyway. Well, this is more than just a minor argument. It's a long-standing tendency for Albert to put a negative interpretation on Eileen's behavior. Such interpretations become more frequent when the relationship is more distressed. It's a sign of big trouble in the future. Negative interpretations are destructive in part because they're hard to detect and counteract. The reason is a confirmation bias, which means that we tend to interpret events in terms of our preconceived beliefs. Like the line from the song The Boxer, all lies in jest till a man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. If Alfred believes that Eileen doesn't care, he won't see her acts of caring. He'll put a negative spin on them that reinforces his original belief. What helps, however, is for the spouse with a negative interpretation to learn to hold their perceptions more tentatively, not as the truth, but as a point of view. If this is you, can you look for other evidence that contradicts what you've been telling yourself? If you believe your partner is unsupportive, look for examples of when they are supportive. They're likely to be there. It also helps if the other partner can really hear what their partner is saying. Hear them out. Let them fully explore or express their point of view. And then maybe you challenge them. People are much more likely to be influenced if they know that somebody understands or cares about what they're saying. So now we've talked about 4 patterns toxic to your relationship. And be aware that there's not something wrong with you if you find yourself in any of these patterns. Most couples are going to show some of them at different times in their marriages. Most important is that you begin to recognize them so that they aren't so automatic. So I'm inviting you to pay attention and find ways to interrupt them. And you can do a lot of that on your own by becoming aware of escalation, invalidation, pursue and withdraw. or negative interpretations. Awareness is the key. It's the first step. Then you have to commit to making different choices, to doing something that's going to bring a sense of unity and goodwill rather than frustration and alienation. And by the way, if you're going through the program alone, one person can do a lot to bring positive changes to a marriage. I've shared this with you before. If you recognize and change your part in these patterns. It is also nice, however, if you're going through together and you can talk about the patterns. But you have to do so not to try to get your partner to see his or her part and change, but to learn to talk more openly about your marriage. Remember that good feelings in marriage don't just fade, they erode because of patterns such as these. You can learn to replace these patterns with healthier patterns, and really that's what upcoming lessons will be about.